Now, we first fell in love with our next guest when he was a wide receiver in the NFL. Now retired from the league, he continues to stay busy with his new venture into the wine industry and his podcast titled Get Your Popcorn Ready with T.O. and Hatch. Please welcome NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Owens. Hi, Terrell.
Hi,
How are
ladies.
you
How you
doing?
guys?
Welcome to the show.
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. So, Terrell, where are you calling us from right now?
I am East Coast. I'm in Georgia.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, Terrell, we're so excited to be talking to you. First of all, how have you been adjusting to life in quarantine for the past year? Like, obviously, we're doing this virtually. How has that been for you?
Well, it's been good. It hasn't been too bad, but I contracted the virus on an impromptu trip to Tulum, just out of boredom. And actually, some friends invited me to Tulum, and a few days after I got back from Tulum, I contracted the virus, and so it wasn't a great situation. I realized that I had it once a friend kind of notified that they had contracted it, so I ended up getting a test, and then a couple of days after that, I ended up kind of just taking a shower. Got out of the shower, then you try to lotion up. You kind of smell your lotions and fragrances, and then I realized I couldn't smell anything, and then I'm like, okay, I got it. And it kind of really, honestly, it went downhill from there. About 7 to 8 days, I really didn't talk to anybody. I didn't have enough energy to do anything. Once I felt like I knew that I had it, it seems like my symptoms kind of took over, and it kind of just went downhill from there to the point to where I couldn't go upstairs because I got an upstairs and downstairs, and my body was aching so bad. My joints, I didn't want to go up the stairs. My energy was low. Didn't have an appetite. Lost probably like about 8 to 10 pounds. So it really took a toll, and it did a number on me.
This thing is real. This thing is real. How are you feeling now?
I'm doing great. And I think just sharing some stories with a few of my friends and people that have contracted the virus, that's what I think everybody kind of, I guess, they don't really understand. Just because there may be a lot of symptoms, you may not have all those symptoms. That doesn't mean you don't have it. And so now, I'm feeling better. But considering, how I felt and the condition I felt like I was in, with me being in such a good shape, like I said, I was kind of blown away. But everybody else, that have experienced it, it's going to take on a toll differently because of who you are, your immune system. It's not going to affect everybody the same.
Never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're really happy that you're doing well. So your daughter Kylie has some serious volleyball skills, so I've heard. Now, do you think she and any of your other children will follow in your footsteps and become professional athletes? It's in her genes, right?
Right. Every parent that plays sports or not that doesn't play sports, they want their kids to do well. But considering the career that I have, that I've had, it's in the genes, it's in the DNA. So greatness is obviously in all of us. But again, when you have someone that have achieved a lot of great things in their respective sports, then obviously you think that's going to rub off on our kids. And so hopefully, like I said, it's in their DNA. The greatness is in them.
Right.
That'll be amazing.
And you've also, right. And you've also been on the front lines protesting against police brutality. What has your experience with law enforcement been like as a famous athlete, Terrell?
We're all aware of what happened with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and a number of others, Breonna Taylor. But being an athlete, it has its pros and cons. There's a such thing, I'm sure, a lot of athletes can attest to. There's athlete privilege. But at the end of the day, being black, that has its challenges in itself. And so I take it all with a grain of salt. I'm very conscious and aware of things that are going on in the world. And so, again, there's things that I'm documenting. I'm doing a documentary on some of the things that I've experienced throughout the course of my career, where, again, you talk about, just as you mentioned, police brutality. You think about the racial inequality and the injustices that, all of us, I'm sure, at some point has experienced. Those are things that, like I said, I'm going to share pretty much at a later date.
Yeah, I'm so curious what your thoughts are on, obviously, former NFL player Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't played in the league since 2017 after protesting police brutality. Do you feel the NFL is making sincere efforts towards addressing racism in the league?
They're making efforts. sincere, that's a bit of a stretch. I think a lot of things they've had to address is because of the aftermath and everything that has transpired,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago, that has come full circle since Colin Kaepernick knelt for police brutality and everything that surrounded that situation. And now the world witnessed for 8 minutes and 46 seconds the death of George Floyd. And so a lot of players, I feel like, that were voiceless 5-6 years ago when Colin Kaepernick, they wanted to be in support of him, that weren't, they weren't, I guess they were afraid to really speak up. They were really afraid to voice, kind of their support. And outside of that, just what they wanted to do with Colin Kaepernick, because I'm sure they were scared, they were nervous, they felt like they were probably going to jeopardize their job. And obviously Colin Kaepernick, he was stripped of his job. As far as sincere, like I said, efforts, I don't think so. They do. I feel like they owe him an apology. If nothing else, they owe this man the job. But as far as that's going and how that's going, I don't think that's going to happen.
Would you be open to working with the NFL towards a solution?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not hard to find. Malcolm Jenkins is one of the guys in the National Football League that's obviously, rounding the troops. Is very social media active, just in the community with the football players themselves to really try to address these type of issues. And so, again, if I can offer my 2 cents of any way to kind of try to, bring some light and shed some light and just bring about some change to what's going on, then I'm all for that.
That's great.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you played in the NFL, you were often fined for your on-the-field touchdown celebrations. But things have very much changed because now the league actually has special cameras that feature on-field celebrations. What are your thoughts on that? That's got to be such a mind twist.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that I was so I guess I wouldn't say a trendsetter, but sort of like a trailblazer. Because there were guys that celebrated, danced in the end zone well before I even thought of playing in the National Football League. And so obviously, I got really kind of unfairly criticized for celebrating. It often got characterized as or deemed as being, being selfish, not a great teammate, things of that nature. And then you think about now where we are today. They have, cameras in the end zone. Everything that I think I was vilified for is now being embraced in the National Football League. So for me, when I played, I didn't try to tarnish the game by any means. I only did the celebrations as a means of me really just celebrating. I knew that football is a form of entertainment, and I just wanted to have fun with the games. And so obviously there are fans that I had and didn't have, when I went on the road or if I played at home, they wanted to see a show. So when you talk about get your popcorn ready, that's where a lot of that came from.
I love it.
And that's part of it. And I
great.
think the fans, I know I enjoyed the celebrations.